It is Friday, the 11th of April, 2025 at Protestia Studios, and this is an intelligence briefing coming to you from protestia.com, where you can go, as always, to find the latest in Christian polemics and discernment news. Sign up for the Insurgency email blast and support us by becoming a Protestia insider over at patreon.com/Protestia. Let's get into the headlines. First headline at protestia.com. She rage baited me. Woman who punched pro-life activist faces in the face launches a GoFundMe. A woman who assaulted a pro-life journalist and activist has launched a GoFundMe to help with her legal defense, insisting that she was, quote, rage baited into the vicious attack. Last week, Savannah Craven, an anti-abortion activist who works with Students for Life and Live Action, was interviewing passersby when one woman who didn't appreciate her questions, now identified as Brianna J. Rivers, punched her in the face and sent her to the hospital. In the post made to Facebook, Brianna Rivers declined to accept blame or responsibility for the attack and insists that the video evidence would in some way exonerate her. It doesn't. Let's look in here.
Such a good vibe.
Of course.
Well, awesome. So we're asking people's opinion today on Planned Parenthood. Are you familiar with them?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know what they provide?
Yes. Abortions.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Safe abortions.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know any other services that they provide?
I know, like, to teens, if you're under 18, you could get like birth control, condoms, counseling. They offer a lot of, beneficial things that the youth really should use right now.
Okay. So you have a pretty positive view of Planned Parenthood.
I mean, majority. I don't know. Is this like a yes or no? Am I wrong?
Your opinion.
But yeah, that is definitely my opinion. I feel like, especially as teens.
Let's rewind to the beginning.
So you went from saying that my outfit was really cute to saying
this is later in the interview, of course.
So mean.
But I think that
You
your
did.
point of view is very obstructed, and I think that you just don't understand the magnitude of having a child.
Yeah, well, I'm not the one who admitted they would be okay with killing babies in foster care and killing children that have been abused.
That's not the point. What I'm saying.
That's really. Oh my God!
So there you go. That's
Have a child.
clearly the evidence is on camera of what she did. I hope that they throw the book at her. Next headline at protestia.com. Man pleads guilty to trying to assassinate Justice Brett Kavanaugh over abortion overturning. In a related story, a 29-year-old man has pled guilty to trying to assassinate U.S. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh at his home nearly 3 years ago, citing his ruling to overturn Roe v. Wade as the impetus of his wrath. Nicholas J. Roski, it's either Roski or Rosick, I'm not sure, pled guilty to the attempted murder of a justice of the United States and is expected to be sentenced between 30 years to life in prison, according to federal sentencing guidelines. Again, we hope that they throw the book at him as well and that he is in jail for the rest of his life. Pretty close. But moving on, next headline at protestia.com. Seven Dust guitarist Clint Lowry says he's become a Christian. Seven Dust guitarist Clint Lowry has revealed he's become a Christian, sharing on Instagram that he just completed a 5-week tour, which is the first he's done as a believer, and that, quote, I am still building my relationship with Christ. I'm still a sinner, flawed and broken, but I've been able to see the world through a biblical lens. Formed in 1994, Seven Dust has gone on to find great success, releasing 14 albums, nominated for a Grammy, and selling millions of records. He shares, we actually have a link in the article to Lowry's Instagram post, but he also, I guess, did an interview with church leaders where he revealed that while he grew up in a Christian household and had exposure to Christianity, it was never real to him until the past year where he had a major health crisis. We will be hoping and praying that his conversion is authentic and that he continues to grow in his faith in Jesus Christ. You can read more over at protestia.com. Next headline at Protestia, Angel Studios' The King of Kings racks up $7.8 million in pre-sales. Angel Studios' upcoming animated faith-based flick, The King of Kings, is set to do bank at the box office this weekend, already earning an estimated $7.8 million in pre-sales, according to Deadline. Written and directed by Seong Ho, it's either Jang or Yang, depending on how it's pronounced, featuring the voices of Kenneth Branagh Uma Thurman, Mark Hamill, Pierce Brosnan, Forrest Whitaker, Ben Kingsley, and Oscar Isaac. The film follows Charles Dickens, a young author who narrates the biography of Jesus Christ. When I saw this trailer and then saw who the voice actors were, I have to admit I'm a little skeptical that leftists like Mark Hamill would lend their voice talents to anything that was an actual true rendition of the story of Jesus or the gospel story, but we'll see. We'll see once it gets out there exactly what this is. Angel Studios, of course, is the studio that was the origin studio of The Chosen, mostly owned by members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormon Church, as far as we understand. But you can read more over at Protestia.com. Next headline, Duck Dynasty star Phil Robertson's health is not good, says his son, ahead of the show's reboot. Jace Robertson has offered a blunt assessment of his father and mother's health during episode 1069 of their Unashamed with the Robertson Family podcast, revealing that while his mother's health has been improving after an extended stay in the hospital, his father, who has been battling a blood disease and early Alzheimer's, is not good. You can read his update at Protestia.com. Duck Dynasty has been rebooted by A&E and is set to return to the small screen this summer, where the Robertson family will, quote, grapple with mapping out the future of Duck Commander, which is their brand of duck calls, watching the kids navigate marriage, children, and businesses of their own, and passing down the family legacy. You can read more about this over at Protestia.com. Next headline, archaeologists discover ancient garden at site of Christ's tomb. Archaeologists have discovered evidence of an ancient garden at the location of Christ's supposed burial, bolstering the biblical narrative in John 19:19-20. Quote, now in the place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a new sepulchre, wherein was never a man yet laid. There laid they Jesus. Times of Israel reported that at a new archaeological excavation at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which some believe was built on the location where Jesus was crucified and also buried. The church was built in the early 4th century and has become an incredibly popular pilgrimage destination because of some highly questionable and occasionally spurious traditions that mark it as a location where Christ died, was buried, and rose again. Read more over at Protestia. Next headline, quote, open letter to Todd White alleges years of lies, abuse, theft, and domestic violence. Apologist Mike Winger has released a warning to the church about Todd White, sharing an open letter released by multiple eyewitnesses that have come forward alleging years of egregious and disqualifying behavior from the pastor and leader of Lifestyle Christianity, including theft, a litany of lies, spiritual abuse and manipulation, and even allegations of domestic abuse. While the letter is unsigned, it purports to be written by, quote, his staff, leaders within his ministry, former leadership of Lifestyle Christianity, board members, and executive team members. Winger says, I've met with them, confirmed their identities, seen the evidence that corroborates their testimonies, and believe that it's Christ honoring to come forward and shout a warning to believers everywhere that Todd White is disqualified and dangerous. Of course, we've been warning about Todd White for years, including in our posts where we've recounted things like him insisting he hasn't told a lie in 20 years, claiming that Jesus became child pornography and bestiality on the cross, sampled Aerosmith and worship songs, taught that God is with you in bed as you watch porn and wants to be your quote-unquote climax, and recently said that God wants to, quote, have intercourse with us. That's Todd White. We would note that it shouldn't take any bad personal behavior. It's not a surprise, obviously, but it shouldn't take bad personal behavior, thievery, abuse, these kind of things he's being alleged of, for someone to mark and avoid Todd White. His almost comically awful false teaching and chicanery and circus stunt nonsense that he tries to pull is enough to mark and avoid him, and never see him in vocational ministry or ministry of any kind. We obviously pray for his salvation and repentance, but considering what he teaches and what he does and who he is, we would not accept him as being a believer in Jesus Christ, and would encourage you then, as a result of that, to mark and avoid him. Last headline at Protestia.com for this intelligence briefing, 16 small churches plead with Colorado megachurches for help against radical trans bill to dismaying results. Over a dozen small to mid-sized churches in Colorado have joined forces and reached out to some of the largest and most influential churches in the state, asking them to help them in their efforts to defeat a barrage of radical legislation that is threatening to tear families apart and plunge the state of Colorado into darkness. Chris Goebel, lead pastor of Ridgeline Community Church in Castle Rock, Colorado, recently shared on Twitter, on X, formerly known as Twitter, there are about 15 pastors of smaller churches here in Colorado doing all we can with what we have to fight House Bill 1312. We need reinforcements. We wrote a joint letter to the largest churches in Colorado 4 days ago, but none have engaged. Can you help share? The bill, as explained by Aaron for Parental Rights on X, will define, quote, misgendering and as child abuse, coercive control, as they put it in the bill, bullying parents to either transition their kids or else lose them. It will protect any parent who brings a child to Colorado for genital mutilation of children, therefore negating all other state laws and court orders. It will force all schools to comply with transitioning children, even explicitly attacking charter schools and eliminating gendered dress codes. It will define misgendering and, quote, dead naming as discrimination for all Colorado businesses, which of course is really all citizens. This is the most radical bill that we've ever seen anywhere, presented by the transgender, I don't know if TRA is a specific transgender advocacy group, but certainly supported by the most radical LGBTQ forces in the state of Colorado. The bill has gotten through the House. It is now, as far as I understand, in the Senate Judicial Committee of the Colorado Senate. And assuming that it passes there, reconciled by both, it will go to the desk of homosexual Governor Jared Polis for signing into law. We will see what happens, but keep praying and pray for courage from the larger and purportedly more influential churches in the state of Colorado. That does it for this intelligence briefing for Friday, April 11th, 2025. Stay tuned to protesty.com for all of your latest in Christian polemics and discernment news. We'll see you again real soon. As always, Semper Reformanda.